Hello everyone, my name is Jhon Mcarthur. I'm the CEO of Millenium Promise and delighted to be with you today. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person for the colloquium, but I'm so thrilled to be invited to participate by Rieko Suzuki, the leader of Millenium Promise in Japan, and just want to extend my gratitude to her and Professor Shinichi Kideoka for their leadership in bringing this group together. And I'm happy to be able to talk a little bit today about the Millennium Villages project, which I'm pleased to be part of, and just to talk a little bit about the early successes of the project, where it is now and where it will be moving forward. So maybe just first to start with a quick description of the Millennium Villages project. This was launched in really early 2006 as a partnership between Millennium Promise, the Earth Institute at Columbia University, and also the United Nations Development Program. Growing out of the work of the United Nations Millennium Project, which I had the privilege of managing with Professor Jeffrey Sachs, we took the best available evidence and the best recommendations on how the Millennium Development Goals can be achieved by 2015 and extracted from those the basic recommendations on how communities living in extreme poverty in rural Africa could themselves take on these goals and achieve them, indeed, probably well in advance of 2015. So the basic proposition, as you've probably already discussed today, is that there are known and available technologies that with a little bit of external financial support can be implemented with dramatic results to achieve dramatic benefits and really kickstart the process of economic development. Those tools include things like fertilizer, modern seeds, long-lasting insecticide-treated bed nets made by, for example, Sumitomo Chemical, the famous Oliset bed nets, school meals for children to have a healthy and nutritious meal every day, and also to be awake and alert and productive while in school. Similarly, functioning clinics, medicine, bore wells for clean drinking water. These are all actually quite practical and simple things that are available, very doable, but have not yet been implemented at scale in the places where they're needed most, which is not exclusively but predominantly among the communities of rural Africa. So what we did in my colleagues and I in launching the Millennium Villages project was really bring together those basic insights on how the Millennium Development Goals could be achieved to tackle hunger, education, gender equality, access to clean water, infectious disease, and so forth in a very integrated way in the places where people actually live. So the project got underway in the first instance in 10 countries. Those include Ghana, Mali, Nigeria, Senegal, Ethiopia, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. And in each of those places, so-called hunger hotspots were identified where the level of malnutrition was so bad and the food production generally so low that these were places that were stuck in extreme poverty and where this basic package of interventions could make dramatic results. So went the hypothesis in early 2006. So Millennium Promise had been launched really in late 2005 to support mobilization and real execution of breakthrough actions for the Millennium Development Goals. And we took on the Millennium Villages project as a foremost initiative, working closely with our partners at the Earth Institute, who provide the scientific leadership for the effort, and the United Nations Development Program, who provide a lot of the implementation and policy expertise for the effort. One of the things that we found in setting up this project is that, of course, there is tremendous expertise on the ground throughout Africa. All of the teams on the ground are led by people from the same countries with a lot of tremendous experience in working with communities, in working on agricultural projects or on local health projects or on various forms inside and outside of the government, many of the same issues. And we were able to tap into a lot of that tremendous local leadership to get this off the ground and, in effect, to help them mobilize the tools for their own work in an integrated manner so that they could help these communities achieve the Millennium Development Goals. In the course of just less than a year, really, we saw that these local teams with a little bit of external support, applying the integrated approach of agriculture, health, education, and infrastructure, were able to kickstart dramatic gains. A little bit of fertilizer and some modern seeds helped to get food yield, basic staple crops, yields up from, say, 1 ton per hectare to 3 tons per hectare. Across the board for nearly 500,000 people living in Millennium villages, there are now 80 Millennium villages, each of which has at least 5,000 people in them. We have seen that the agricultural production went up within a single growing season, and it doubled and tripled just in the space of that short amount of time with the benefit of a little bit of support, in particular the fertilizer and improved seeds. We also saw, thanks to the generous contribution of Sumitomo Chemical's bed nets, how mass distribution of anti-malaria bed nets could make a dramatic inroads for the community mobilization around disease control. We were able to work with our local teams to distribute well over 300,000 long-lasting bed nets in the space of just a few months. And we've seen that that's already made dramatic inroads in bringing down malaria, bringing down parasitemia, the measure of how malaria is in the blood, and actually bringing down the clinical cases of malaria dramatically too. And just in the first year, we saw that while the rest of the world was really maybe talking about how to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, these Millennium villages and communities across Africa were showing how to achieve the Millennium Development Goals at the scale of, again, nearly 500,000 people. So we also saw that there were things that took a little bit longer, maybe not just a growing season, but at the end of the growing season, once the food production had come up, that could support the introduction and the large-scale introduction of local school meals and school meals using locally produced foods. As of early this year, 2008, we have more than 70,000 children using school meals and benefiting from school meals every day. This is a dramatic breakthrough that showed just how much can be achieved and kickstarted once that food production goes up in agriculture. Just one of the many benefits. We've also seen the clinics get staffed working with the local governments, several new clinics constructed, many refurbished, and we've seen that the outpatient visits have often gone through the roof as families, mothers, fathers, children are able to go in and take their families when they are sick just because they're confident that the medicine will be available or the clinician will be available in order to actually treat them when they're ill, or even to deliver their baby in the clinic under supervision to make sure that if there is any complication, there's support available. So we've seen dramatic progress in health as well, and in the basic services of health. In education, we've been able to support refurbishment and construction of many schools, and we've seen on average, and we're still getting the precise numbers, but on average enrollment backed by the introduction of the school meals programs has gone up about 20% across the project. This is a major boost within a very short amount of time of primary education enrollment. We've also seen dramatic progress in things that are even more time intensive in doing the geological surveying for water, for example, identify the best place to drill the wells, identify the best and most appropriate local technicians to manage those wells. And we've seen that the rate of expansion of access to clean water has really been an enormous boon to the communities too. So we've seen all of those things, and when I say take a little longer, it has to be understood that that's within the context of a little more than 2 years. So there are some things that can be done really within less than a year that provide a huge boost to the communities and really give a huge sense of empowerment to the communities, whether it's vastly greater crop yield where